Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction and recovery. Join your hosts,
the Podfather, Jersey Ed,
as they break the silence and speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles, and I'm here with my good friend,
Jersey Ed, everybody.
Jersey Ed.
How are you,
Podfather? Good. How are things in Jersey, Ed?
Jersey. Very good, Podfather. How's everything in Podfather? Everything's good, Podfather.
Yep.
I can't complain. Life is good. I'm sober another day, and the weather's cold, but that's part of life. So, how about you?
Yep. We're muddling through. I'm well. Thank you very much. I feel well. No covert, no COVID, nothing.
Covert.
So, yeah. But I have a few friends getting shots, and that's about it.
Good.
Trying to live life as normal as I can.
That's what we have to do. Sober, safe, and healthy. That's it. That's how we have to live life. Real quick, I want to tell everybody who we have on the show today. I'm going to give some call-in numbers. Yeah, we have a guest today, Paula S. She's an alumni from Genesis House Alumni Giving Back Series is today. But before we bring her on, of course, we want to make sure that people can get in touch with us if they have any questions, and also talk about our social media stuff. But if you have a question for us, or if you want to just talk to us, you can call us at 617-379-1163. Or email us at help at friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. And just a reminder that Friends in Recovery online 12-step meetings, Podfather, you've been a guest on there. You spoke on those two. And our guest today she frequents our 12-step online meetings. So it's at 12 noon and 7 p.m. Eastern, and they're daily meetings. Also, if you go to Friends in Recovery Community of Support or Friends in Recovery Podcast Facebook pages and all their social media, you'll find all the links to the meetings there. And I think we're on Instagram and all that other stuff too. All that stuff you and I don't understand about, Podfather.
Correct.
We have somebody doing that stuff for us.
We're lucky.
Yes.
They're lucky we're not doing. Let me just say that.
yeah, exactly. So today, Podfather, Paula S. she's from Florida. I don't have much of a bio on her because we brought her in real quick. It was a last minute decision to bring her in. And of course, like Paula does, she
anonymous.
She just kind of jumps in and does what she has to do for her recovery. And I've been on many meetings with Paula, and she has really good recovery. Of course, she went through a Genesis House. It's just amazing. I love her attitude towards life, her positivity that she brings in life. She's just an amazing person and has amazing recovery. And told you we make you sound good, Paula. Welcome to the show. How you doing, Paula?
Hey, Paula.
Thank you, Ed. I'm doing very well today. Thank you. From sunny St. Augustine, Florida.
That's where she's from.
Yes. Well, yeah, now. And just briefly, I am from Massachusetts originally, and I was an actor for a while when I got out of college. And then I, was a terrible waitress. So, I was starving. So I went back to school and went to law school. And during the time I was working in law school, I was working in broadcasting, as I mentioned. And then I was an assistant district attorney in Massachusetts for some period of time, 3-4 years, before I went into private practice, and I had my own law firm.
Wow.
For 20 years until I retired in 2011 and moved on to my sailboat with my husband, who is retired captain on the Massachusetts State Police. And we both sailed off into the Caribbean, where we've been for the last 10 years or so.
Sounds like a rough life.
Yeah, it was terrible. Well,
lawyer to sailboats.
There's not a lot of linkage there, but and I come from a very bizarre family. I mean, a lot of people do. An interesting family. Both my parents are alcoholics. My mother is now in a nursing home. She has dementia. But she was an opera singer. And it was interesting when they brought her into the nursing home, they kept coming to me and saying, your mother keeps saying she's an opera singer. And I said, of all the things she says to you, that's actually the truth. Right. And she was quite stunningly beautiful and got a full scholarship to New England Conservatory of Music back in the 50s. And sadly, it was good, I guess, but they weren't exactly a match made in heaven. She met my father when she was working in a music store, who my father was also a striking person. He looked sort of like Elvis. Black hair, cool. But he was like the crazy Irishman, just crazy. Bad gene pool. But anyway, so she got pregnant with me. She dropped out of school her last year of the last semester and never went back, but she had quite a career as a singer, very, very talented woman, had her own musical group that she did all the arranging for and traveled all over the world. And she never drank until her mother died. And then when her mother died, I think my mother was abused on a lot of sexually abused, mentally abused. And she started to drink, and she would drink. She never drank socially. She only drank bottles of vodka and hid everything. And then my father would come home and ask her if she was drinking. And of course, she'd be legless and she'd say no. And so back then, what would he do? He would whack her. So there was a lot of domestic violence, not whacked, just beat the crap out of her. So I would stay home to intervene, to try to follow her around all day to keep her sober. And she was so stinking wily. I don't know how. I would have the laundry basket, under the mattress, everywhere, and she would still be able to get drunk, and she would have to go perform, do Carmen. And I would be figuring out all these things to get her sober, to get her so she could go on stage. So my parents finally got divorced. And of course, back then when they sent you to rehab, they gave you tranquilizers. They just substituted one addiction for another, and she became addicted to pills. And, again, now we're in the 60s. And I'm going to school and not going to school and driving the car. I never got my driver's license till I was, 22, because why bother? Because I was driving anyway, because I had to, because we didn't have, and I was the school forger, because I always had to forge all her names on the checks and drive to the grocery store because, it sounds pathetic. I didn't get any food. And then, so in high school, did I do all the stuff that you did? And I graduated in 74. So, I'm like, where's the pot? So you did all that. And I did all that. I never was into any kind of drug that brought me down. I did, my hallucinogens, which I did enjoy because it was kind of long.
The hippie stuff.
Right. I was a hippie, I went to not Woodstock. I was too young, but I went to Watkins Glen, which was kind of a Woodstock thing up in New York, and all of that. And then, went to school and I drank, but I was not a big drinker. And then I got into broadcasting. I was in sales and I did a lot of voiceover work, and I still, I could go and drink for free any bar in Boston because we had trades with every restaurant in the city for the radio station. But then, and then I kept seeing my mother, and my dad ended up, he was sober for a while, and then he went out again, and he thought he could drink socially. And I have his personality. I have a huge personality. It does not need to be amplified in any way, shape, or form.
Right. With alcohol or not, right?
Yeah. And I saw him, and one day I was walking down a place called Comm Ave. There's a big sort of park that runs down the center of it. And there was this man sitting on a bench with a raincoat on, with his paper bag with a bottle of booze. And I looked over, and it was my father.
Oh my God.
And I was like, holy crap. And I called the woman who became his second wife. And I said, Toby, we got to do something about this. And he went to rehab, and he never drank again.
Wow.
And so after that, and after I got into law school, I said, this is not good. It's bad. And my cousins are alcoholics, and they were crazy. My two cousins are Vietnam vets. Both of them have silver stars. One of them was a medic in Vietnam. So you can imagine how much post-traumatic stress they have. They're just and my other cousin was a nurse, and he was doing the poaching of the drugs out of the hospital. That's a familiar song as well.
Mhm.
So it's just as I said, it's a bad gene pool. And, so I didn't drink for 20 years.
Wow.
I never drank. I went out with people, and I remember this is my second marriage, but when I went out to my bachelorette party, whatever, we went to a Japanese restaurant and everybody was drinking sake, and I went to work out the next day with the same women that I was with, and they were all hungover, and they cannot understand why I don't feel like crap. And another friend of mine said, well, Paul doesn't drink. And they go, well, he could have fooled me. But it didn't bother me to be around people who drank. I didn't feel like I had to give up my social life, even though I did get taken advantage of as far as the driving situation. I didn't feel like I was losing out, which I think is a thing, especially when you see people who are young. And, that's why I think that adage about one day at a time is so important. And it's so important for people who are younger, because people who are younger don't want to ever say to themselves, I can never do that again. And it's really difficult. And there's so much peer pressure. And although I think that recovery is really accepted now, and fitness and there's a lot of young people who don't drink, but
yeah, well, recovery is mainline now. Recovery is more of a, remember tattoo, when I was getting tattoos years and years ago, you had to be a biker, a drug addict, or some derelict to get tattooed. It wasn't that bad,
now
but
it's not cool anymore.
Yeah, well, it's not cool now, but it was cool for a while.
Yeah, I got one way back.
Yeah, it's accepted now, but recovery is now like that. I'm glad you brought that up, because recovery is mainline. There's shows on recovery. There's more and more movies about recovery.
A lot of money in recovery. That's
a lot of money in recovery
too. They're advertising naltrexone on television down here.
Oh my God. Wow.
They're advertising it. They're saying, call, if you feel like, you don't want to drink as much, or you want to back away from alcohol, call your doctor, and they call it something else. Yeah. But that's what it is. Yeah. So I said to my mom,
okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Quick question. Podfather is probably thinking the same thing. Lawyer, on a boat, retired. Where does the drugs come? I mean, what was your bottom? I mean, it sounds like you had everything. You lived right in on the higher end of in Boston, and a law. You had your own law firm. I mean,
right.
But what was the takedown?
In all fairness, Ed, I don't think that it doesn't matter. I mean, that's my philosophy. It doesn't matter what you have and what you've achieved. Sometimes it's just, it happens. I mean, I think I come and, I got the blood test and all that. And a lot of people I'm Irish heritage and solid Irish heritage. And a lot of people with Irish heritage have a propensity, because you always wonder. I mean, I wonder why me and not somebody else. Why is it me? Because I thought I could drink because I didn't know I couldn't. I never didn't go to meetings. I just didn't drink. So I went on a trip to go scuba diving with my girlfriends down to the Keys before I retired. And we drank some champagne one night, and it was hysterical. We had a hysterical time, and they were a great bunch of girls. And from that, and it was so insidious. It started out really, really slow. But in the end, I'll jump way ahead. When we came, I was drinking heavily. I drank heavily, and there were instances where I did stupid shit. But it wasn't all the time. And I wasn't drinking when I ended up in the end, I got arrested a year ago, December. I got a crash. I was usually I would not drive, but I was so far gone. I had, common sense gets sucked right out of you. But I started drinking like my mother drank, just like she drank. Didn't want to drink socially, just sneaking anything I could, vodka, got to the point where the liquor store knew what I drank. And the minute I walked in the door, they'd have it on the counter. And I would drink before I went for a run. I'd be on my way to the beach in Maine to go running. And I'd say, well, that'll be a good warm up. And I'd stop and buy half a pint of vodka and suck it down and then run 6 miles. Don't ask me how I did that.
Paul,
I
that
know.
is insane.
I've been there.
I'm crazy. Crazy.
Yeah. Podfather,
So-
did you ever run on a plane of vodka?
No, on a few lines of cocaine and a couple
Yeah, well,
of
that I can
there.
see. Yes, yes.
and
Come
a
on.
couple of shots of doers. Yeah, I get out of work at 12:30 and I'd go home and do a couple lines, stretch, drink a shot of doers, and I'd go out for
Out the door.
Out the
Right.
doors. That's it. That's it.
But I mean, I was doing, and it got more and more. And my husband would be, "What you leave the house and you're fine, and you come back and there's something wrong with you." And he couldn't. He wasn't making the leap that it was alcohol. He just saw that I was off, and I got progressively worse. And I kept saying every day, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. I'm a tough cookie. I don't have to do anything. And it just went on and on and on. And after I got in the accident last December, I mean, I knew it. I mean, I got kicked out of, sorry, let me back up. So a year ago, July, I started my yoga training. Now I've been teaching in the Caribbean for a long time, leading classes. I've been doing yoga for 25 years. And so they needed somebody to lead. So I was always leading classes. So my husband's like, look, why don't you just get your ticket and then you can take money.
Mm-hmm.
So fine. And I got kicked out of yoga class because I couldn't stand the woman that ran it. So I got hammered and passed out in yoga class, in yoga school.
God.
I know.
God. Paul, we're going to take a quick break here. God, I wish we had hours for these shows, Podfather, because I love hearing stories and I hate condensing people's stories.
I know. Who gets kicked out of yoga for being drunk?
I know. So we're going to find out how that happened on the other side of the break. We're going to find out how you got to Genesis House and what your experiences was at Genesis House. And, we'll just dive into that on the second half of the show. Podfather?
Right. All these questions will be answered when we come back. Friends in Recovery podcast. We'll be right back.
You're first. First to respond. First to put others' lives before your own. And in an emergency, you need a network that puts you first. That connects you to technology, to each other, and to other agencies. Built with and for first responders. FirstNet. The only congressionally authorized wireless network for first responders. Because putting you first is our job.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Everybody, welcome back. Friends Recovery Podcast.com. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles.
I'm Jersey Ed, everybody. How's it going?
How's it going?
I have to find a new way of coming in. It's just like,
right.
I throw up at coming in. You know what I mean? It's like, Jersey Ed, Jersey Ed here. Our guest, Paula S, an alumni giving back series from Genesis House. But before we bring her back in, Podfather, you know what happens after the break, right?
Jersey Ed's podcast pick of the week.
Yes, and you know what that is? It's Sober Pod, of course.
Oh my God.
Hey, listen.
Stimulation that you're goodness.
So I was listening to Sober Pod on my run the other day, and they were like, yeah, FIR, Friends of Recovery, good show. And that was it. I was like, come on, man. I have a tattoo of Carl and Sober Pod, and that's all they can give us is go listen to Friends of Recovery.
I ought to tell you something about, yourself.
Step it up, Carl. Come on. Step it up. No, Carl, we love you. Carl, Steve, Ellen, and Chelsea over at Sober Pod. Turn the dial to the right and go listen to them. They're out on the left coast in California. Great show. They have a lot of topics that they talk about, and I steal a lot of ideas from their show, Podfather, and we bring them on here.
I'm afraid you're going to kidnap Carl.
Hey, listen to the show last week. He was on the show. He stepped in for your shoes there, Podfather.
Yep, I know. Did a great job too.
He did. Absolutely. So Paula S back on the show with us. She's an alumni of Genesis House. She comes on our alumni meetings that we do every Tuesday night at 8:15, and Paula's usually on them. And she also has a great story that we've been listening to here. She's gonna talk about a little bit about what we just kind of ended up with how you got into recovery, and talk a little bit about Genesis House. Who was your therapist also at Genesis House?
Natasha was my therapist.
Natasha,
and I will say, somebody was saying at a meeting the other night, the alumni meeting, sometimes I miss Genesis House. And I said, me too. Because of course I have my own apartment. I didn't have a roommate because it was COVID, and I had been out of the country too. So I had, this apartment, and it saved my life. I mean, it really did. And, the people there were great. And I have a thyroid problem. So I have to take medication without food. So I take it early in the morning, and I would get up early. I mean, I do that anyway. I'm usually up around 5:30. And there was this gentleman who worked overnights during the week who was the neatest guy. And I would get up and I would go, and he would give me my medication. And then we would just sit and talk as the sun was coming up. And that made my beginning of my day. I mean, he was just a wonderful person. And he always he brought me books, and he always had some philosophy for me, and we chatted, and it was just great. And then, because of COVID, there weren't a lot of people there. So there were two other women there initially, and then one of them left, and then there was just two of us and a bunch of teenagers. So, that was interesting.
It's always interesting with teenagers, right, the younger crowd.
Right, because they don't listen. And they'd say, the rules of the meeting: no chewing tobacco, no hats, no sunglasses. And I'd look, and they would have hats and sunglasses, and I don't tolerate that well. So I was kind of bossy. Yeah, I was a little bossy because I'm like, what, do you not hear? What is wrong with you? So that part was kind of funny, but I was there for 30 days. I got to be in charge of the vegetable garden. So that was kind of cool because I do that. I have a garden here, and they had yoga, which was nice. And then I liked all the meetings, and I liked the structure. I liked the different way each therapist would run a meeting. And so, Rob, the king of homework, would have, whatever, vision board, just get these magazines. And
That's Rob. That's Rob.
Yeah.
Anybody listening, send us an email. We're going to get a bunch of emails from alumni about Rob and his vision board. Because Skylar always talks about that, right? Right, Podfather, on the show? She always talks about Rob and his
we're all like, what the heck is that? Oh, okay. And then, of course, the kids, they'd come over and knock on my door. How do you spell this? I go, do you not know how to spell?
No, because they have phones, and they don't need to learn it. They don't need to know how to spell.
Right. Amazing. What does this word mean? And it would be some stupid, easy word. I just, it taught me a lot of patience. And, recovery has taught me a lot of patience, and being there taught me patience. Certainly. And, I enjoyed that. And again, I think Genesis saved my life because it put something between me and my addiction. It put sanity in between me and my addiction. And because when I came back after I crashed the car in December, I kept drinking. I kept drinking in July after I got kicked out of yoga. I mean, I got to come back, But I mean, come on, how low do I have to go? And then I went to Grenada to visit my friend and drank all their holiday liquor. So she said, Paula, maybe, you want to address this issue. And it was interesting. It wasn't getting thrown out. It wasn't the crash and getting arrested in Massachusetts, in the county that I was a prosecutor.
Wow.
I have my son, who's a police officer, have to come to the police station to get me out of jail, and call my husband, who's a retired police officer who worked in that county as a homicide detective for 20 years. And I ran the court. And when I went to get arraigned the next day, the judge was somebody that I trained to try cases.
Wow.
So, but that didn't sober me up. No, I could do it on, and I would go running and stop on the way. I'm like, I'm going to run to the meeting, and I would stop, and I could fit nips into my jog bra. So I would run to the meeting, stop, have a nip, go to the meeting, run back, drink some more. But and when I came back from Grenada, I finally said to my husband, I said, sweetie, I got to go. And he, through the state police, got in touch with you, Ed.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
I remember.
I mean, I blew a 1-4 when I got to Genesis.
Jesus.
Why not? Although my friend
Brendan,
Brendan,
I remember that phone call. I really do.
Yeah, and my friend Brendan, who is an alumni.
I love Brendan.
I love Brendan too.
He's been on our other show, ATC, answering the call.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
But we have like a little contest. He goes, well, I blew 2 when I was driving for 3.5 hours. Like, well,
oh my God. Oh my God.
I stopped on the way in the gate. But, so I'm 9 months sober. Christmas. And I don't have any desire to drink. And I really do attribute it to, not just meetings, but really that break that Genesis gave me. And I will be ever grateful for that. And anybody who is looking for a place to go, and people say, well, you don't want to go to a place, it's like a resort. You still have to have a comfortable environment, that you are comfortable in. I mean, it was lovely. I mean, it's a beautiful place, but I didn't feel like I was at a spa. No. I mean, I had to go to meetings. I had to go pee in a cup. I mean, you had to do stuff. You had
to do all the rehab stuff you had to do.
Right. And you had to admit it. And just the fact that it was in a nice landscape, and I finally got them to open the pool. I said, really? Pool? I was the only one that ever went in it. Everybody's like, are you going to open the pool?
Genesis, I just want to say Genesis is always the first place I suggest for all the clients.
Absolutely.
That I end up, sending to recovery. And Ed's always the first person I call. So if I have anybody that's looking for recovery, Ed's the first person I call. I usually have them speak with Ed because Ed has all the information. I mean, and the fact that sometimes we can't get into Genesis for whatever reason, insurance issues, people that just don't want to go to Florida. Ed never stops there. Ed will continue to help these people, which I find personally, as a therapist and him being my friend, it just makes my job so much easier. And I appreciate it. And I can't tell you how many times he's put people into places that weren't Genesis. But when we do send someone to Genesis, I feel so much better. I know that when they come back, that they're going to have some tools to work with. And I don't know, it's just listening to you speak, it reaffirms in me all the people I've sent there and all the success I've had. Because as you know, Paula, and you'll find out as you go forward, there's not a lot of success in recovery just to begin with. But when you can get somebody sober for 9 months, are you kidding me? That's a lifetime for most of us.
Well, also, Podfather, she's sober 9 months in COVID. That's even crazier. And we talk about that a lot on our meetings, on the Friends of Recovery meetings. And obviously, this is what your life is COVID in recovery. You didn't know much more than that, but still, that getting out to meetings, getting to see people, having, a good session with, you as another woman or me with another man, and just sitting there one-on-one talking to each other and just understanding each other. That's not available. It's only available this way on the Zoom thing. But I really have to give you like a thumbs up and a pat on the back for getting sober through this. And anybody else who's getting sober, not just from Genesis House, but anybody getting sober, anybody listen to this in the COVID time, it is not easy. Let me tell you, it is not easy. But when we do that, and you know this, Podfather, when we do that and we struggle and we push through something, we push through the pain, the reward is even greater on the other side. Sure. And this is the reward, guys. Listen to Paula, listen to what she's saying, listen to her recovery. That's the reward of pushing hard and staying with it and struggling. And you know, I know her, you know, just from the meetings and a little personally, but she really does have good recovery. Now, Paula, real quick, we have a couple minutes left here, but tell us some of the good things that are happening in your life now. I know, you know, we have a lot of things that we talk about as far as, you know, our experience, strength, and hope. But what's the takeaway from all this? What is the highlight of your life after getting out of Genesis House? What did you get back, or what did you know, something along those lines?
Sure. I mean, I got back a lot of things. I got back my memory. I got back my balance. I mean, it was frightening. My husband actually was inquiring as to whether I had like early onset dementia or Alzheimer's, because I was repeating myself. You know, when you're a drunk, I had the shakes all the time. I mean, I completed my yoga training. And it was difficult with COVID. So I said, you know, I don't care. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to teach. And so, but if I was drinking, like, teachers call me all the time to ask me to fill in for them. I filled in this morning. If I was drinking, I couldn't. I'm 65 years old. I have to teach another hour and a half class tonight. And I had to teach a power class this morning, which is a whole bunch of push-ups and very fast flowing movements. And I couldn't do that if I was drinking. I couldn't. Yeah. And no one would ask me to, because I wouldn't be able to talk, move, make an example. And I've been asked to, I helped the lady across the street. I've been asked to volunteer at the shelter. I've been asked to volunteer at this historic house that I am going to be a docent and give tours at this museum. So, I mean, I couldn't do any of that if I was drinking. I would think I could, because I, of course, thought I could do everything, including drive a car, apparently. But I couldn't. And I feel like I've gotten myself back. And I said to my husband the other day, I go, babe, you know what? I'm wicked smart.
You are
smart.
You are wicked
smart. And I just was laughing because, you know, all of this politics and stuff. And you know, I was a trial lawyer too. So, I mean, I can think on my feet big time. I mean, that's just a thing. Some people can, some people can't. That's why I was good at what I did as far as trial work. And so having my mind back and my wit back and my sharpness back has been one of the biggest gifts that I could have had. Because I feel I'm not depressed anymore. I'm not anxious anymore. I'm not having anxiety attacks. I'm not afraid. I've been set free. I mean, I guess that'd be the biggest thing. I've been set free and I've rediscovered myself, and I appreciate myself. And I'm wicked funny too.
And smart.
And wicked smart.
I
have a scooter, and you'll appreciate it. I have a sticker that says "Wicked Pissa" on the side.
Well, I've been outdone by two Massachusetts and whatever you guys are called up there.
It's a true smart. We're just wicked smart people that are
wicked pissa smart.
Yeah. You know, I like what you said, Paul. We have to close here in a second, but I like what you said about I got myself back. I got me back. You know, I asked that question to a lot of people, and a lot of people come up with answers that are good. But a lot of people don't say I got me back finally. And, you know, and that's to me, that's the most important thing, that I got me back. Because without me being back, without me knowing who I am and knowing what I can do and what the things I can accomplish besides, and I like also what you said, when I was drinking, I thought I could do all that stuff, but I really couldn't, you know, but now I know I could. There's a difference between thinking and knowing. Now I know I can do all that stuff. I can take on a challenge. I can, you know, Podfather and I can do this podcast. If somebody cancels, we can just run with it and do whatever it is. I mean, you know, help somebody get a treatment or whatever. And, you know, Podfather can endure a half hour of sitting here with me. And
you know, I always attribute in the groups I run, we talk. I have early sobriety, middle sobriety, late sobriety, but I really think it's important. And I really do feel one day when I was about 3 years sober, I realized it was like being out of jail. I never was in jail. I worked in a jail as a correctional officer as a young guy, but I had all this freedom. I had my mind. I could make decisions. And it wasn't about who had the drugs. When did I get them? I need more. I don't have enough money. Am I going to get enough booze? Is the liquor store going to be open? It's just like being set free. It's freedom.
Right.
Yes,
freedom.
It is.
What a great guest, Paul. Thank you very much. You were a great guest.
Thank you for asking me. I'm very honored.
And I actually wore a pink shirt to go with your hair.
For everybody who's not watching, who's listening, Paul does have some pink hair. And she looks fabulous, but I knew her before her pink hair.
You have $1 million smile, Paul.
She does.
Thank you very much.
Paul does brighten up a room, especially when she was coming on to the meetings. And we all did look forward to her sharing. And
keep it coming, guys. Keep it coming.
I told you we would make you sound great, Paul.
You're a great guest, no doubt.
Paul, thank you so much for being a guest. And, please get a hold of somebody at Genesis House, Skylar and everybody, and get you back over there to speak maybe one day soon when COVID starts going down a little bit. And we'll get you back on the show too.
All right, great. Thank you for having me.
Paula S, thank you very much.
All right.
And
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thanks.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Great show. A great show.
Podfather. Yeah. So she's just, when she comes on the meetings, when she does her, when she talks, it's just amazing. I didn't know she was a trial lawyer. That's amazing, huh? I mean, crazy.
Oh, she's a very accomplished woman. And it's what I really like about her is she has that homespun. She talked about her parents. I mean, you could tell that means a lot to her. She's not a me person, even though she has so many accomplishments she could be, but she's not. And she cares about her parents and it's good. Hey, great guest as usual. Another one.
So, thank you, Podfather. Absolutely. This is it's an amazing thing that we do this. It just surprises me too. After every guest, right before the show, we had somebody cancel, and just to let everybody know, guys, Podfather said, "Don't worry about it. I'm the Podfather. I can handle this." And it's true. I mean, the guests are great, but Podfather, but some of the topics that we do talk about on here are amazing. And I'll be honest with you, that's when I get a lot of emails about the topics that we bring up and some of the things that we talk about. And Skylar couldn't be here today because she wasn't feeling well. So we miss you, Sky. And
we do
feel better that, and
noontime with Sky. It's not good without her,
Noontime with Sky. No, it's not. Absolutely not. So
there's $1 million smile right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I'll tell you, I can feel it in my heart. She's just a ray of sunshine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Podfather, real quick before we close, I just want to let everybody know we have some great up and coming guests for the new year now. And please stay tuned, everybody. Subscribe and like and all that stuff, because I got a lot of good guests I've been working really hard on, and you guys need to kind of stay tuned and listen to us.
Absolutely. Friends in Recovery podcast.
Stay safe. Stay sober, everybody. I'll get it down one day. Stay sober, everybody.